Welcome to this preview edition of Ask Frank on GridironNow.com. I'm Amanda Borges here with Frank Frangie. Frank, the Gators have won 10 in a row against Tennessee. Does that streak end this weekend?
Boy, that's the question, isn't it? Last week the question was, does it end against Kentucky? Now the question is, does it end against Tennessee? Shock Gator fans, I think the streak ends. I think this is the year Tennessee goes in there and finds a way to beat Florida. So much has been made of that streak. I think Tennessee's got better players than Florida. I think they've got more good players than the Gators do. They also have a quarterback in Josh Dobbs who has played. Florida's quarterback, Will Greer, has not played nearly as much. For me, I think this is the year. Shocking now, I think this is the year the Vols go to Gainesville and beat the Florida Gators for the first time in 10 years.
Well, that's huge.
Yeah.
What are some key matchups that we should keep our eye on in this game?
I think Tennessee can run it. Now, Florida's got a really good defensive front. We talked about that in our review edition. They've got a very good defensive front. But I think Tennessee can run the football. I think Hurd and Kamara are going to make some yards running the football against them. I think that's the key. Here's the other thing. Florida was not very good on offense. I thought their offensive line really struggled against Kentucky's defensive front. And Tennessee's defensive front is way better. So it's the line of scrimmage league, right? I think it's a line of scrimmage game. I think the key to the game is going to be, I think Florida's going to have a heck of a time blocking Tennessee. That, to me, is the key matchup, and I think Tennessee's going to run it a little bit. If Florida can stop the Tennessee running game, then Josh Dobbs has been up and down as a passer. That's how they have a chance. But I think Tennessee is better at the line of scrimmage, has just as many fast guys as Florida does, and the key is I think Tennessee will run the football. I don't think Florida will be able to. In the years they've played this series, the team that runs for the most yards has won far more. I think Tennessee's going to have a lot of rushing yards. I think Florida's going to have a heck of a time running. That's why I think Tennessee wins the game.
Well, you heard it here first. Frank thinks Tennessee will pull it out against the Gators. Frank, what are your final thoughts on that game?
Well, everything, the emotion of it, the psychology of the game. Florida always finds a way to play great against Tennessee. They always find a way to play well against them. Tennessee somehow finds a way to lose to Florida when they've got no business losing to them. That's the one X factor that could help the Gators. If something goes wrong early for Tennessee, and all of a sudden they get this here we go again mentality that Kentucky got last week, then they could get beat. The psychology of this game means everything. Look, I think it's Tennessee and Georgia in the East. I've thought that from day one. I think losing to Florida would change that. That's why I think the Vols win the game.
Well, there are two other big games this weekend. Let's start with Texas A&M and Arkansas.
Boy, is that thing different than I thought it would be. I really thought Arkansas would be a player in this thing. Psychologically, they are reeling, man. This is a team that's lost twice in a row. They've lost two games at home that everybody thought they would win, Toledo, then Texas Tech. There was some chatter among coaches in the media. Arkansas is really reeling, and here comes Texas A&M who could score on anybody. Here's the thing, though. If Arkansas's got anything left, you got to find a way to win this game, but A&M's better. I think A&M's going to go in there and win, and what a disappointing year for Arkansas. What a disappointing start to what people thought was a real bounce-back year for the Razorbacks. Didn't see this one coming. I think A&M wins now.
Well, Mississippi State is at Auburn this weekend. What should we look for in that game?
Boy, before the season, thought that'd be a great game, right, Amanda? Everyone thought that would be a game that would help decide the West. Not anymore. I think Ole Miss is way better than Mississippi State. I think most of the teams, or many of the teams in the West, are way better than Auburn. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Isn't it surprising that that game that we thought would have such an impact on the West won't have one at all? That's the surprise. So for me, the preview this weekend is we'll watch A&M and Arkansas. I think A&M wins. We'll have our eye on Mississippi State at Auburn, but I don't think it matters nearly as much as it did. The game of the week is Tennessee at Florida. Does Tennessee wind up ending the streak? I think the streak ends in the swamp this weekend.
Well, that's a wrap on this preview edition of Ask Frank. Make sure you head to GridironNow.com for tons of premier SEC content. We'll see you next time.